Every day, billions of photos and messages are uploaded into the ether. But where do these digital fragments actually sleep? Human memory is a brilliant evolutionary adaptation, but it is also fragile. Details blur, neural pathways weaken, and the sharp edges of our past naturally soften over time. This inherent fear of fading away is a core driver of human ingenuity. We have spent millennia searching for ways to outlast our own biology. Viewed through this lens, human history is a race to build permanent vessels for our temporary lives. We began by carving language into stone, an attempt to freeze our thoughts in the earth itself. Paper and ink allowed preservation to travel. A handwritten letter could carry a person's voice across continents and centuries. We scaled these records into vast libraries, our first collective memory banks, where the knowledge of a civilization could be stored in one room. Eventually, we brought this preservation home. Our required active curation. Placing a photo into an album was a choice, a statement that this moment was worth the physical space it occupied. Today, that physical friction has vanished. We capture everything by default, replacing intentional curation with automated hoarding. By trusting our identities to the invisible sky we call the cloud, we traded the intimacy of choice for infinite capacity. The cloud is often spoken of as something ethereal, but it is built on physical hardware. It began with massive, isolated mainframes like these. Over time, those isolated machines were wired together into interconnected networks of copper and silicon. Today, the cloud is simply massive server farms, industrial warehouses governed by strict rules for moving data. This infrastructure provides storage, but storage is not the same as memory. Storage is passive. Memory is the selective retrieval of what matters. A machine preserves the file perfectly, but it strips away the human context. It remembers the what, but loses the why. A hard drive full of data is an uncurated warehouse. It holds the records of a life, but it lacks the meaning of a life. Algorithms often try to assist us by smoothing out our digital records, deleting what they categorize as emotional friction or uncomfortable data points. But an uncomfortable memory is often the most useful. When we erase a mistake, we remove the very signal that guided our growth. When the system erases the error, the lessons that branched out from it collapse. This creates memory gossip. It is what happens when a system uses a contextless data point, like a years-old mistake, to decide your current potential or creditworthiness. A person is not a static data point. When we preserve information without the story behind it, we lose the ability to see who that person has become. To turn these cold files back into human memory, the system must respect 3 specific dimensions of our history. First is truth. The system must retain the raw, unedited facts of an event, even if they are uncomfortable. Second is consent. We must have the power to decide which parts of our journey are stored and who is allowed to see them. Finally, there is context. The why must travel with the what, ensuring that the reason for an action remains visible. Adding context to a mistake is not a way to make excuses. It is a way to ensure the record reflects the person who learned from the error, rather than just the version of them that failed. This reveals the ultimate paradox of preservation. Long-term memory requires disciplined forgetting. We must be able to filter the signal from the noise. For a learner to move forward, they need the fundamental right to let old versions of themselves fade away. The cloud is not a master in the sky. It is humanity's newest library. And like every library, its value depends on how we curate it. When contextless data from our past determines our access to a job, an education, or a loan, it effectively locks our future. No automated record should ever hold that kind of absolute power. Technology widens our potential only when we control the narrative of our own lives. At the end of the day, who owns your past?